I never thought I would find myself in this situation, yet here I am, typing out my story in the hopes that it might help someone else. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Lisa for the past 7 years. At least I thought I had a solid marriage. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but overall I believed we were happy. Maybe I was just naive. Things started to shift about 6 months ago. Lisa, who used to be the life of the party, had become distant. I first noticed the way she would spend late nights at work, claiming it was due to an upcoming project. I believed her because, well, who doesn't work late sometimes? But when her late nights turned into weekends spent away at work retreats, I felt a nagging unease creeping in. One day she left her Apple Watch at home, and for reasons I can't explain, I felt compelled to look at it. I was just scrolling through her notifications out of curiosity when I stumbled upon the heart rate monitor. It showed these wild spikes during odd hours, especially late at night. I couldn't help but connect the dots, and it sent chills down my spine. Those timestamps told a story I wasn't ready to acknowledge. I began to keep track of her behavior. Little things, a text message that she quickly dismissed, a phone call that she took outside, her reluctance to let me see her phone. It was as if she had built walls around herself, and I was left standing on the outside, peering in. My gut was telling me something was off, but the thought of Lisa being unfaithful seemed unfathomable. It was my wife, my partner, but those heart rate spikes, they haunted me. I decided to confront her about it one night. My heart was racing, and I felt like I was about to step onto a battlefield. The moment I brought up my suspicions, Lisa's face shifted from confusion to defiance. She laughed it off, claiming the spikes were due to her intense workouts or stress from work. But I could tell she was lying. The tension in her voice gave it away. I pushed harder, my anger boiling beneath the surface. "You expect me to believe that?" I shouted. I could feel the betrayal weighing on my chest. It was painful to see the woman I loved turn into someone I barely recognized. Her excuses piled up like a mountain, but I wasn't buying them anymore. In that moment, I became a mix of rage and heartbreak, and I couldn't even guess what I would feel next. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw things, but instead I just stood there, numb and broken. As she continued to deny anything was wrong, I felt a mix of disbelief and fury. It felt like my entire world was crumbling around me. The emotional journey was only beginning. I went from shock to anger and eventually to a deep sadness that settled in my bones. How could this happen? How could she do this to me? I felt betrayed, confused, and utterly lost. I started questioning everything about our relationship. Did I ever really know her? Did any of it mean anything? As days turned into weeks, I started to come to terms with my reality. The weight of her betrayal hung heavy over me, and I was left contemplating my options. I wanted revenge, but was that the answer? I needed to make a choice. Would I fight for our marriage or walk away? Reflecting on all this, I found myself grappling with the pain of betrayal mixed with the hope of rebuilding. Whatever decision I made had to be grounded in what was best for me, even if it meant letting go of the life I thought I had. I needed to find a way to move forward, but how? The weeks that followed Lisa's confrontation were a blur of emotions. I bounced between anger and sadness like a pendulum, each day dragging me deeper into a fog of doubt and despair. The house felt empty, even though she was still living there. I could see her, but it was as if she was a stranger in a familiar place. The laughter that once echoed through our home had been replaced by silence, punctuated only by the occasional tension-laden conversation. I tried to keep things civil, mainly for the sake of appearances. We both knew our marriage was hanging by a thread, but we also had friends and family who viewed us as the perfect couple. I felt like I was living a lie, but the thought of coming clean to everyone about Lisa's betrayal made my stomach turn. Part of me wanted to scream it from the rooftops, but another part held me back, fearing the chaos it would create. One evening, as I sat down to eat dinner alone, I noticed Lisa's phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. It was a late-night message, and I couldn't help myself. I glanced at the screen, and my heart sank. The name flashing across it wasn't familiar. It was a man named Derek. The message was innocuous enough, just a simple "Hey, you up?" But it was the context that hit me like a freight train. I didn't need to see more to understand what was happening. I felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with a sense of clarity. This was the evidence I was looking for, the smoking gun that could no longer be ignored. My heart raced as I tried to process the implications. What did Lisa and Derek have going on? When did it start? Had it been going on longer than I realized? I wrestled with the urge to confront her again, but this time it would be different. I had proof. The next day I decided to be strategic. I didn't want to give away the upper hand I now had. Instead, I played the role of the indifferent husband, trying to act as if nothing was wrong. I even brought up our plans for the upcoming weekend, a trip we had talked about for months. I wanted to see how she would respond, if she would show any signs of guilt or unease. "Are you excited about the trip?" I asked casually as she poured herself a glass of wine. "Yeah, I guess so," she replied, a flicker of hesitation in her voice. It was so subtle, but I caught it. "Just a lot on my mind, you know." I forced myself to nod, hiding the storm brewing inside me. I used that weekend trip as bait. I wanted to see if Lisa would keep her commitment or if she would find a way to back out, perhaps to meet Derek. I felt like a detective, waiting for my moment to unveil the truth. The day before our trip, I took a leap of faith. I confronted her again, this time with a calmer demeanor. "I think we need to talk about Derek," I said, watching her reaction closely. The color drained from her face and I could tell I had struck a nerve. "What do you mean?" Lisa replied, her voice trembling slightly. She was good at feigning innocence, but her eyes betrayed her. "I know about the messages," I stated flatly. "You can't keep lying to me, Lisa. It's exhausting." For a moment she was silent, her eyes darting to the floor. Then she squared her shoulders and put on a defiant face. "You're jumping to conclusions, Jake. We're just friends. You're being paranoid." I could feel the anger bubbling within me again, but I held it back. "It's not paranoia if there's evidence," I shot back. "Let's not pretend this is normal. You and I both know there's something going on." Her excuses spilled out in a rush, blaming work stress, saying I was being unreasonable, claiming Derek was just a coworker she confided in. But I wasn't buying it. I had heard enough. "Look, I can't keep pretending everything is fine when I know you're hiding things from me," I said, my voice steady but firm. "You need to be honest with me. This is your chance." In that moment I could see the gears turning in her head. Would she choose to come clean, or would she dig in her heels? The tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I had crossed a line and I felt the weight of that choice settle heavily on my shoulders. Then she turned it around on me with her classic bitchy defiance. "You're just being dramatic, Jake. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have to seek out support elsewhere." Those words stung. I had tried to be a good husband, but now every fault of mine was being thrown back in my face. I felt the ground shift beneath me as the reality of our marriage came crashing down. I was ready to fight for what I'd thought we had. Instead, I was faced with an enraged stranger who had once been my partner. That night, I was consumed by a whirlwind of emotions: rage, betrayal, and heartbreak. I could hardly sleep, my mind racing with thoughts of what I would do next. I was walking a fine line between love and revenge, and I didn't know how much longer I could hold on. It was time to make a decision, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but one thing was crystal clear: whatever came next, I needed to be in control. I couldn't let her dictate the terms of our relationship any longer. I had to reclaim my power. The confrontation with Lisa had left me feeling more vulnerable than ever. I spent the next couple of days in a haze, trying to process everything while still maintaining some semblance of normalcy. The planned trip hung over us like a dark cloud. I felt the weight of my decision looming as I prepared for a weekend that was supposed to be a getaway, but now felt like a ticking time bomb. The night before we were set to leave, I stayed up late, running through the possibilities in my mind. Part of me wanted to dig deeper, to find more evidence that could solidify my case against her. But another part of me was terrified of what I might uncover. I could feel my heart racing as I lay in bed, battling with conflicting emotions. In the morning, I pretended everything was fine. I helped Lisa pack her bags as if nothing had changed between us. She was in a chipper mood, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. I wondered how she could be so carefree after everything that had happened. As we drove to the cabin we had rented, I could barely focus on the road. I kept glancing at her, trying to read her thoughts, but her expression was unreadable. It felt surreal. How could we go from being a happy couple to this? After we arrived and settled in, I realized I had to do something to regain control. I decided to take a walk by the lake, hopping to clear my head. The serene beauty around me felt like a stark contrast to the chaos inside. I breathed in the fresh air, trying to think about how I wanted to handle the situation. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from an unknown number. My heart sank as I opened it, half expecting it to be from Lisa's friend, Derek. Instead, it was a text from my brother, Ben. "Hey, Jake, I heard you guys are back at the cabin. Hope all is well, just a heads up. I ran into Lisa at a bar last week. She seemed a little too cozy with some guy. Just wanted to make sure you're good." My blood ran cold. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. Ben's message confirmed everything I feared. I couldn't shake the image of her flirting with someone right in front of my brother. It felt like a slap to the face. When I returned to the cabin, I was a mix of anger and betrayal. Lisa was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, that same carefree expression still plastered on her face. I couldn't contain myself any longer. "Lisa, we need to talk," I demanded, my voice steady but laced with tension. She looked up, her brows furrowing. "What now, Jake?" "I just got a message from Ben. He saw you with another guy. Care to explain?" I crossed my arms, ready for the storm. For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "Ben is just being dramatic. I was at a bar with my coworkers. We were celebrating a project. It was nothing." "Nothing? You expect me to believe that? You're lying to me." I felt the anger bubbling over and I was struggling to keep my composure. Lisa's demeanor shifted. "You're being ridiculous. I can't believe you're bringing this up right now. It was a harmless night out." "Harmless? You and I both know that's not the whole story," I shot back. "You've been spending late nights at work and now I find out you're cozying up to another guy. This isn't just some harmless celebration, Lisa." She stood up, her face flushed with anger. "You're right. Maybe if you paid attention to me instead of snooping around for things to be upset about, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere for support." Her words cut deep and I was taken aback by her audacity. "You have no right to throw that back at me. I trusted you and you betrayed that trust." Realizing we were only escalating the fight, I took a step back, trying to regain my composure. "I don't want to fight, but you need to be honest with me. Are you seeing Derek? Are you cheating on me?" She hesitated, and for a fleeting moment the facade slipped. I could see the guilt etched on her face, but just as quickly she recoiled. "I'm not cheating, Jake. You're being paranoid. I love you and I would never do that." Her words felt hollow. I had heard enough lies to recognize the pattern. "Then why did Ben see you with another guy? Why do you have to keep lying?" "Because I didn't want to deal with your constant jealousy," she shouted back, her voice rising. "You've been so insecure lately, it's suffocating." I felt the emotional weight of our conversation settling heavier than before. A part of me wanted to believe her, wished things could be different, but the evidence was piling up against her. I was torn between the love I still had for her and the betrayal that was festering inside me. The rest of the night was filled with tense silence. I could feel the walls closing in around us, and I knew our relationship was reaching a breaking point. Each moment felt like a countdown to an inevitable explosion. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I questioned everything. Would I be able to forgive her if she admitted to the affair? Could I ever trust her again? I realized that whatever decision I made, it had to come from a place of clarity, not anger. I needed to think about the future, my future, and whether Lisa was someone I could truly see there. The next morning, I woke up with a newfound sense of determination. I could no longer stand by and let her dictate the terms of our relationship. I was ready to take action, but how? The answer loomed over me like a dark cloud, and I was left wondering if the storm would ever pass. The tension in the cabin hung over us like a palpable fog. I could feel it in the air, thick and suffocating. As the morning sunlight streamed through the windows, I knew that something had to change. I couldn't go on pretending that everything was fine while Lisa continued to dodge the truth. I needed clarity, and I was determined to get it, no matter the consequences. After breakfast, I suggested we take a hike to clear our heads. I thought the fresh air might help us talk things through. Lisa reluctantly agreed, and we set out on a trail that wound its way around the serene lake where we had once shared carefree moments. I looked around, trying to recall the happier times we had there, but the memories felt tainted now. As we walked, I could sense Lisa's unease. She kept glancing at me as if trying to gauge my mood. I wasn't going to let her deflect this time. "We need to have an honest conversation," I said, breaking the silence. "No more lies, Lisa." She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "What do you want me to say? I already told you nothing is going on. Can't we enjoy this day without going in circles?" "Enjoying the day? How can I enjoy anything when I feel like I'm losing you?" I snapped back, frustration bubbling over. "You've been distant, and now I find out you've been lying. I can't just pretend everything is okay anymore." Her face hardened and she stopped walking, turning to face me. "You act like I'm the only one to blame here. You're the one who started doubting me." I took a deep breath, trying to rein in my anger. "I wouldn't have doubts if you were honest with me. I need to know if I can trust you, Lisa. Are you seeing Derek? Just tell me the truth." For a moment she seemed to falter. I could see it in her eyes, a flicker of guilt, perhaps even doubt, but she quickly masked it with defiance. "You're being outrageous. I told you already I'm not cheating. Just because you're insecure doesn't mean I am." Her defensive attitude only fueled my anger. "Insecure? I'm trying to understand what's happening between us. I'm trying to save our marriage." "Save our marriage?" She laughed, but it was a hollow sound. "You think this is about saving our marriage? You're the one who pushed me away. Maybe if you'd actually listened to me instead of assuming the worst, we wouldn't be in this position." I felt the wind knocked out of me. It wasn't the first time I had heard that accusation, but it stung nonetheless. "I'm trying to listen now, Lisa. But how can we move forward if you refuse to acknowledge the truth?" She looked away, her expression hardening. "You want the truth? Fine, maybe I'm not happy anymore. Maybe I'm tired of feeling like I can't breathe in this relationship." Those words hit me like a slap in the face. I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak wash over me. "So that's it? You think running to another guy is the answer?" "I never said that, but it's not like you've given me any other options." The frustration in her voice was palpable. We stood there, locked in a standoff, neither of us willing to back down. I could feel my heart racing, a mix of rage and despair coursing through me. "You can't just throw away our marriage, Lisa. If you're unhappy, let's work on it together, but not like this." "I don't even know if I want to work on it anymore." She shot back, her voice rising. "Maybe I just need space." For a moment I was struck silent. Space? Did she really think that would solve our problems? "You think running away will fix things?" I asked, incredulous. "You're just going to abandon everything we built together." Her expression shifted, and I could see her resolve wavering. "I don't know what I want, Jake. Everything feels so messed up right now." We stood there, the fight draining away, leaving a heavy silence between us. I could feel tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. I was exhausted. I had fought so hard to save our marriage, but I was running out of steam. "I don't want to lose you, Lisa, but I can't keep doing this if you're not all in." She looked at me, her expression softening for a brief moment. I don't know how we got here." I took a step closer to her, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Then let's figure it out together. We need to be honest about how we feel, even if it hurts." After a long pause, she finally nodded, albeit hesitantly. "Okay, let's talk." We continued our hike, but this time it felt different. There was an unspoken understanding hanging in the air, a fragile thread connecting us, but it was still there. I hoped that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As we stopped at a viewpoint overlooking the lake, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "I do want to lose you," I repeated, trying to convey the depth of my feelings. "But I need you to meet me halfway. I need to know that I can trust you again." Lisa looked out over the water, her expression contemplative. I want to try, Jake, but it's going to take time for me to figure things out. Can we do that?" "Time is all I ask for," I replied, hoping that this was the first step towards rebuilding what we had lost. As we made our way back to the cabin, I felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was something. A fragile thread, yes, but one that I was willing to hold on to. I knew the road ahead would be rocky, but I was ready to face it if it meant salvaging our marriage. Little did I know, the real test of our relationship was still waiting around the corner. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions as Lisa and I navigated the fragile truce we had established. I tried to put the confrontation behind us, but the lingering doubts and suspicions about her and Derek still clawed at my mind. We had agreed to be honest with each other, but I struggled to shake the feeling that there was more she wasn't telling me. As we settled back into our routine, I made a conscious effort to reconnect. I planned small activities we could do together, cooking dinner, watching movies, even going for walks in the evenings. I wanted to remind both of us of the good times we had shared. Yet, each time I reached out, there was still that distance. Lisa was there physically, but her emotional presence often felt miles away. One evening, I found her on the couch, engrossed in her phone again. The familiar gnawing sensation bubbled to the surface. I couldn't ignore it any longer. "Hey, can we put our phones down and talk?" I asked, trying to keep my tone gentle even though I felt the anger simmering just beneath the surface. She sighed, setting her phone aside. "What do you want to talk about, Jake?" "About us. About where we're headed." "Are you still talking to Derek?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Lisa's expression hardened. "I thought we agreed to move past that." "I want to move past it, but I can't if you're still in contact with him. It feels like the trust is still broken." "Derek is just a coworker, I told you that." She snapped back, throwing her hands up in frustration. "I don't understand why you can't just let this go. Because I can't just ignore my gut feeling. You've been acting so differently, and I need to know if I can trust you." I felt my anger rising again, but I tried to rein it in. "Trust? You think I'm the one who broke that trust?" She shot back, her voice laced with accusation. "You're the one who started snooping around. You're the one who can't let go." At that moment, it felt like I was talking to a wall. I wanted to scream to make her understand how deeply her actions had affected me. But instead, I stood there, feeling the weight of defeat settle in. "Maybe I'm just tired of fighting," I said, my voice quiet and weary. "I can't keep doing this if you're not willing to meet me halfway." Lisa looked away, her expression softening just a bit. "I don't want to fight either, Jake. I just need time to figure things out." "Time?" I echoed, incredulous. "How much time do you think it takes to regain trust? You're the one who's been keeping secrets and lying." "Secrets? What secrets?" she asked, her voice rising again. "Like last week when you went out for drinks with your coworkers. You didn't tell me about that until I asked you." I couldn't help but feel the frustration boiling over again. She crossed her arms defensively. "Can you blame me? You've been acting like a jealous husband instead of my partner." "Because I am scared of losing you," I shouted, my voice echoing in the quiet room. "I'm trying to understand what's happening, but it feels like I'm talking to a stranger." In that moment, the air felt electric between us. Lisa's eyes flashed with anger, but there was something deeper buried under the surface, fear perhaps. "Maybe I need to figure out if I want this relationship too," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. It was as if I was standing on the edge of a cliff and she was ready to push me off. I took a step back, my heart racing. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean, I don't know what I want anymore," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Things have changed, and I need to think about whether this is the life I really want." Every syllable felt like a dagger to my heart. I had poured everything into this relationship, and yet here we were, standing on the precipice of uncertainty. "So that's it. You're just going to throw everything away?" "I'm not throwing anything away. I just need to be honest with myself," she pleaded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't want to hurt you, but I can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not." I was at a loss for words. The woman I had loved so deeply was now standing in front of me, questioning everything we had built together. The betrayal I had felt just weeks before had morphed into a deeper sense of loss. I realized that the battle wasn't just with her, it was with my own heart. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, grappling with the reality of our situation. I felt like I was on a roller coaster, unable to get off. I loved her, but I also felt like I was losing myself in the process. The next day, I decided that I needed to take control of my own narrative. I couldn't keep waiting for Lisa to figure out what she wanted. I had to make a choice for myself. If she was uncertain about our future, then maybe it was time for me to start thinking about mine. I made plans to meet up with some friends for drinks that weekend. I needed to vent, to get a fresh perspective on everything that was happening. I reached out to Ben, hoping he would be able to offer some insight. As I sat in the bar with Ben, I unloaded everything: the heartache, the frustration, the betrayal. I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle, I confessed, my voice thick with emotion. It's like I'm holding on to a ghost. Ben listened intently, nodding as I spoke. Jake, you deserve to be happy too. If she's unsure about what she wants, then maybe it's time for you to consider what you need. His words struck a chord within me. I realized I had been so focused on saving my marriage that I had neglected my own happiness. I needed to put myself first for once. By the time I left the bar that night, I had made a decision. I wouldn't allow Lisa's uncertainty to dictate my happiness. I was ready to take a step back and reevaluate my own life. It was time for me to reclaim my power, regardless of what was happening with her. As I drove home, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I knew there would still be tough conversations ahead, but I was ready to face them head on. I would no longer let fear dictate my actions. Whatever happened next, I would be the one in control of my destiny. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Returning home from the bar that night felt different. I had spent so many weeks caught in the storm of my emotions, but now I could see a path forward, even if it was shrouded in uncertainty. I was ready to have one last conversation with Lisa, to lay everything on the table and take control of my own life, regardless of her choices. The next evening, I took a deep breath and found Lisa sitting at the kitchen table, deep in thought as she scrolled through her phone. The tension between us had become a constant presence, and tonight I was determined to break the cycle. I sat down across from her, my heart racing but my resolve unwavering. "Lisa, we need to talk," I began, my voice steady. She looked up, her expression a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. "About what?" "About us, about where we go from here." I leaned forward, trying to convey the seriousness of the moment. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I can't keep waiting for you to decide what you want. I need to know where we stand." She met my gaze, and I could see the conflict in her eyes. "Jake, I've been thinking too, it's just so complicated." "I get that it's complicated," I replied, trying to soften the blow. "But you've said you're uncertain. If you're not sure about our relationship, then you need to be honest with yourself and with me. I can't live in limbo anymore." Tears filled her eyes as she looked away, and I felt my heart ache for her. She was clearly struggling, and I had no desire to hurt her, but I knew that I had to prioritize my own well-being too. "I love you and I want us to work, but I can't do this alone." "Jake, I don't want to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling. "I just feel so lost right now. I never intended for things to get this out of hand." "I know," I said gently, "but if you're not ready to commit to this marriage, then maybe we need to take a step back. I need to focus on my own happiness too." The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken words. Lisa finally looked up, her expression shifting from sadness to acceptance. "I think you're right. I've been avoiding the truth because I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't keep pretending." I felt a mix of relief and sorrow wash over me. "What do you want, Lisa? Be honest with me." "I don't think I'm in love with you the way I used to be," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not sure if I want to try to fix our marriage or if I need to explore who I am outside of it. I need space to figure things out." The words hit me like a punch. My heart sank, but I couldn't deny the truth in her voice. "I understand," I said, trying to keep my composure. "If that's what you need, I'll respect it. We both deserve to be happy, and if that's a part, then so be it." She looked at me, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I never meant for it to come to this." "I know," I replied, my own emotions bubbling beneath the surface. "It's painful, but maybe this is what we both need, time apart to figure ourselves out." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the moment settling over us like a heavy blanket. I felt a sense of loss, but also a strange sense of freedom. Had finally taken control of my life, and while the future seemed uncertain, I knew I was ready for whatever came next. As we ended that conversation, we agreed to separate. It was a decision that felt right, even if it broke my heart. We packed up our things and made plans to part ways respectfully. I was grateful for the memories we had shared, but I also realized that I deserved a chance at happiness, and so did she. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing. I spent more time with friends, rediscovered old hobbies, and took the time to reflect on what I truly wanted in life. I joined a gym, started taking care of myself, and began to feel a renewed sense of purpose. The pain of the betrayal faded slowly, replaced by a sense of empowerment. As I moved forward, I learned to embrace the uncertainty of life. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I was determined to approach it with an open heart. The journey of healing was ongoing, but I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Looking back on everything that had transpired, I realized that sometimes letting go is the first step toward finding oneself. Trust is a fragile thing and it takes time to rebuild. I learned that relationships require honesty, effort, and mutual commitment. While Lisa and I had parted ways, I held on to hope for my future, knowing that love could come again, this time with the lessons I had learned firmly in my heart. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, and for the first time in a long while I felt a sense of peace.